Hi, I'm Christine Tucker, and I am going to be talking today about whether or not you should spend some money to renovate your home. The reason I bring this up is with recent rate increases, most people who have bought a house or refinanced are sitting on a rate that is around 3%, some a little lower than that even. And with rates over 6%, it can make a big difference in your mortgage payment if you sell your house and move. Some people are calling this the golden handcuffs, meaning that you're kind of stuck in your house because of the monthly payment difference. For example, if you currently have a mortgage of $300,000 at 3%, if you went up just to a 6% mortgage, your monthly payment on the interest difference alone is going to go up more than $500 a month. And that's a significant amount of money for most of us. That's a car payment, that's groceries, that's gas, that's a lot of really important things for our family. So because of that, people who might have at this point been thinking, I need a bigger house, or I don't like this thing about my house, they would be calling me to sell their house and to move to their next house. But right now, that may not be their best option, unfortunately for me. But this isn't about me, this is about what is best for you. So you may be thinking, okay, I still am outgrowing my house, or maybe there's something that you don't like about your house. So should you renovate your house? What are the pros and cons of that? So before we get into real specific pros and cons, I think it's important to define what actually you mean by renovations. So if you just want to update a bathroom or make some tweaks to your kitchen, which we have written blogs about, we've talked about that in the past, then that is not as big of a deal as far as the scope of it. And I would strongly encourage you to go ahead and do that if it's something that you can afford. But let's say you don't have enough space in your house and you're thinking about doing an entire addition to your home. That is a whole nother story. And there are a lot of aspects to consider. So one of them is, how are you going to pay for it? And for most people, when they do a home renovation, they're going to get something called a home equity line of credit. Most of us in our homes, unless you just bought your house in the last year, you do have a good amount of equity in your home. And what the equity means is whatever your mortgage amount is, let's just stick with that $300,000. Let's say that's what you owe the bank. But an appraiser says, well, your house is actually worth $500,000 now. That means you have $200,000 of equity in your house. Even if you haven't paid $200,000 towards the house, that is your equity. And so banks let you borrow a certain percentage of that equity to make improvements on your home. It seems like a safe bet. If you're putting that into your home, you're increasing the value. The bank has kind of a win-win there. So that is what a home equity line of credit is. Now, unfortunately, home equity lines of credit are typically tied to current interest rates. So we're back to the same issue of why you might hold on to your house instead of selling it right now. You are going to be paying the higher rate on the money that you're borrowing to do the renovation. Most home equity line of credits are interest only. And so that means that you would only be paying the interest amount, not anything towards the principal. So the good news of that is it is a lower cost than if, say, you bought a new home at a higher price point, and your initial $300,000, to stick with that, would still be at the lower rate. So maybe only $100,000 would be financed at the 6 to 7% rates that we're looking at right now. The other aspect of that, though, is if you're only paying the interest, if for some reason property values go down, you do have a slight chance of being upside down in your home. Now, if you do the renovations correctly, that shouldn't be the case, which we're going to talk about now. What does that mean? How do you do renovations correctly? So I have shown many hundreds of homes at this point. Most of them are lovely, whatever their size. But I have gone into homes, and often it is more expensive homes that I have experienced this. and they are kind of gaudy. They have really fancy finishes and marble everywhere, and they don't really fit most people's aesthetics. So if you love that, that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. But that, at least here in Watkinsville, Georgia, that is not necessarily what people are looking for in their aesthetics and their style. So that's one thing. Another thing, as you are considering renovations, just talking about aesthetics, there are lots of trends. For instance, shiplap has been a thing. I kind of think shiplap is coming to the end of its life and as being a trend. And so if you are on the tail end of a trend and spend lots of money on renovations with that, let's say you are ready to sell your house in 5 years, it might feel really dated to someone and you might have to redo those things. So those are things to consider just as far as aesthetics are concerned. Another aspect of renovating is, again, going back to what are you going to do? We talked about small renovations. I say small, it can feel big if you're renovating a bathroom or if you're renovating a kitchen. But I have had clients who have completely changed how the flow and the layout of their house is. If you are doing that kind of renovation, there is a good chance that you are going to actually have to move out of your house, pay for somewhere else to live while you are paying your mortgage, and hope that the contractors come in a timely manner. Which brings me to the next thing about renovations, contractors. You've probably heard that it is really, really hard right now to get people to do work in homes. I see it all the time on our resource list on C. Tucker & Co. website. We have lots of people listed because sometimes you're going to have to call 5, 6, 7 people before you can even get someone to come out to your house to give you a quote in a timely manner. And that's not even talking about when they can start the work. So I would say if you are at all considering any kind of renovation, you need to start collecting names of contractors and setting up appointments and getting realistic timelines of when they could start and how long the project might actually take. So those are some definite things to consider when you're looking at doing a renovation. I have met with clients. Please, please, please do not hesitate to reach out if you're thinking about doing a renovation. I am happy to come to your house and not only talk about the aesthetics and what might be important to people, but one of the most important things you need to consider when you are looking at renovating your house is, are you going to price yourself out of your neighborhood? If you live in a traditional neighborhood, so, has covenants and HOA, that kind of thing, not just you have a house on a plot of land in the county, but if you actually are in a neighborhood, then you want to make sure you don't over renovate your house. You may make your house the best house it could be, incredibly look great for potential buyers. But if the homes in your neighborhood are around $400,000, say $450,000 homes, and you put $200,000 in renovations in your home, you are most likely not going to get that money back out. And that's fine if you're like, no, we're going to live here for 20 or 30 years. I don't care. I love this neighborhood. I want this in my house. That's fine. But as far as the financial investment, that is not going to be worth it. I'm happy to run market analysis for you to see if it does make sense to put that kind of money into your house. So to summarize, the things to think about when you're renovating your house. 1, what is the scope of the work? Is it something small and manageable, or is it something that you're going to have to completely move out and find another place to live while you're doing the work? 2, is it something that not only you and your family will enjoy, but will it actually help your resale? And that is going to include things like aesthetics, but also the flow of the house. I do want to throw out another example. I showed a house recently and there was this huge random room without very many windows. It was not in a basement, and we could not figure out what this room was for, and my clients couldn't figure out what they would even use the room for, and so they passed on the house. So you want to make sure when you're doing renovations that even just the flow of it, what you're doing, that it's something that most people are going to want, not just something that's particular to you and your family, unless again you're planning to stay there for a very, very long time, and getting the money back out of it doesn't matter to you. Also, you need to consider financing. How are you going to pay for the renovation, and what will it cost you to finance that? I mentioned home equity line of mortgage, home equity line of credit, where typically that's interest only. There also are, and I have never done this personally, and I'm not a financial advisor, but I have had clients who have borrowed from their retirement accounts. So that is certainly something to ask your financial advisor about, to see if that's an option and what that looks like for you, as another way of renovation. If it's a small renovation, you might be able to save up the money and have the cash to do it, which is obviously the best way to do it. I do not recommend putting it on a credit card with high interest rates that you will not get that money back out. Do not do that. Please do not do that. That's not wise. Also, are you going to overprice your home for your neighborhood? You want to make sure you don't do that. You want to have the nicest, smallest house in the nicest neighborhood you can afford. So you don't want to have the biggest house in the neighborhood. You want to have one of the smaller homes, just again for resale. So I hope that is helpful. Again, I am very happy to come take a look at your house, talk to you about it. Even if you think we're not going to sell our house, it's going to be years and years and years. But I want to make sure that you are making the best decision you can, and I'm very happy to add my expertise for that. So thanks so much.